I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this. My name is Jake Parker, and I've been married to my wife, Amanda, for 5 years. We were the quintessential couple, or so I thought. We had our inside jokes, shared aspirations, and a comfortable home in the suburbs of Atlanta. But recently, things started feeling off. It was subtle at first. Amanda was a bit more distant. Her phone buzzed incessantly with messages, and she would often stay late at her job as a marketing executive. I brushed it off, attributing it to work stress or maybe the routine of married life. Then one evening I came home from a long day, exhausted and feeling like I was about to crash. As I walked through the door, I noticed something odd. The lights in the house were dimmed, and Amanda wasn't there to greet me like she usually was. Instead, I found a letter on the kitchen counter. It was addressed to Mr. and Mrs. Collins. For a moment I stood frozen, my heart racing. Collins. That wasn't us, we were the Parkers. I opened the letter and my stomach dropped. It was from a hotel confirming a reservation for a weekend getaway. The dates were upcoming and the name on the reservation wasn't mine. My mind raced with possibilities. Was this some kind of mistake? I felt the walls closing in around me, a tightness in my chest that told me something was seriously wrong. I thought about the signs, the late nights, the unexplained absences, her sudden need for me time. I recalled a few weeks back when I casually asked her about a new perfume she was wearing. She brushed it off, saying it was on sale and that she needed a change. Now that same scent lingered in the air, taunting me. I decided to confront her. When Amanda finally walked through the door, I tried to keep my voice steady, but the anger bubbled beneath the surface. "Hey, Amanda, we need to talk." I placed the letter on the counter, my hands shaking slightly as I pointed at the name. Her eyes went wide, and I could see the gears turning in her mind as she tried to come up with a plausible excuse. "Oh, Jake, that's just a stupid mistake," she said flippantly, her tone dismissive. "I think they mixed up the names. I didn't even book a hotel. It must be a glitch or something. You know how these things are." I felt the heat rising in my cheeks. A glitch? Seriously, a glitch that sends a letter to our house. My voice was growing louder, but I couldn't help it. "You haven't been yourself lately, Amanda, and now this. I deserve more honesty than that." She rolled her eyes, crossing her arms defensively. "You're overreacting, Jake. It's not like I'm cheating on you or something." But my instincts told me otherwise. The nonchalance in her response felt rehearsed, a flimsy cover for something far more sinister. As the argument escalated, I felt a mix of emotions: disbelief, anger, and a growing sense of betrayal. Each word she spoke felt like a dagger, twisting deeper with each lie. I wanted to break down, to scream, to ask how she could do this to us. But I held my ground, waiting for her to slip up, to give me something more than just excuses. As the night wore on, Amanda maintained her innocence, but I could see the cracks starting to show in her facade. Longer we went back and forth, the more I realized I was not just fighting for answers, I was fighting for my sanity. At that moment, I knew I had to dig deeper. I needed to find out the truth, even if it meant unraveling my entire life to do so. I was at a crossroads, and everything I thought I knew was about to change. The confrontation with Amanda left me feeling like a ship battling a storm. I didn't sleep that night. I replayed every moment, every word of our conversation. I knew deep down that her dismissive words were a cover for something much darker. I could feel it in my bones: the betrayal, the deception, the narrowing of our once warm and loving bond. I was determined to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The next day, I decided to take a day off work. I needed time to think and plan my next move. The first step was to investigate. I was no detective, but I had the instincts of a husband who felt the ground shifting beneath his feet. I started by checking her phone. Normally, I wouldn't go snooping, but desperate times called for desperate measures. As luck would have it, Amanda was in the shower when I made my move. I went to our bedroom and picked up her phone from the nightstand. My heart raced as I unlocked it with the combination I had memorized: her birthday. The screen lit up, revealing a plethora of messages from a contact saved as Mike. I recognized that name. It was a guy she mentioned once or twice, a coworker who had supposedly become a friend. I hesitated for a moment, debating whether to scroll through the messages. My gut told me I needed to see what was really happening. I started reading, and each message felt like a knife twisting deeper into my heart. There were flirty exchanges, innuendos that made my skin crawl, and plans for their supposed work-related outings. My stomach turned as I read their conversations about sneaking away for the weekend, the same weekend referenced in the hotel letter. I didn't know how long I spent reading those messages, but it felt like an eternity. I was a mix of disbelief and rage. I had found the proof I needed to confirm my worst fears. Amanda was not just having an emotional affair. She was planning to be with this guy. The betrayal hit me like a freight train. I wanted to scream, to throw things, to make the walls of our home tremble with the weight of my fury. But I stayed calm. I took screenshots of the messages, knowing I would need them for what was coming. When Amanda finally emerged from the bathroom, I had already put her phone back and composed myself as best as I could. I didn't want to give anything away just yet. I needed to confront her again, but this time I would have the upper hand. "Hey babe, you're looking refreshed," I said, forcing a smile. Inside, my feelings were a tempest. "Thanks, I needed that shower," she replied with a casual shrug, seemingly oblivious to the storm brewing beneath the surface. "What are your plans for today?" "I was thinking we could just hang out, maybe watch a movie later." The words felt foreign in my mouth, but I needed to keep this charade going until I had everything in place. "Sounds good, but I have some work to catch up on," she said, brushing me off as she headed into the kitchen to pour herself a cup of coffee. I watched her, trying to gauge whether she had any idea that I was onto her. As the day passed, I couldn't shake the feeling of dread. I was walking on eggshells around her. I noticed little things, like how she kept her phone glued to her side and how she would laugh a bit too loudly at her messages. Each laugh felt like a taunt as I sat there, helpless. As evening approached, I finally decided it was time to confront her again. I needed to give her one last chance to come clean before I dropped the bomb. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. "Amanda," I said, my voice steady but laced with tension, "I think we need to talk about Mike." Her reaction was immediate. The color drained from her face and she froze for a moment. I could see her mind racing as she tried to formulate a response, but I didn't give her the chance. I pulled out my phone and displayed the screenshots I had taken of their conversations. "Care to explain this?" I asked, holding the device out for her to see. Her eyes widened in shock and her mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water. "Jake, don't lie to me, Amanda," I interrupted, feeling the anger bubbling to the surface again. "This isn't a mistake. You were planning a getaway with him while we're sitting here pretending everything is fine. How could you do this?" The confrontation turned into an emotional explosion. She began to stammer, her explanations falling short. "I didn't mean for it to go this far. It was just a stupid fling. I love you, I swear." The anger within me began to boil over. "A fling? You think that makes it okay? You're planning trips with him while I'm here, working hard to provide for us. What do you even want, Amanda?" The confrontation was raw and painful. It was a moment that would change everything, and I stood there, grappling with the emotional fallout and the reality that this woman I thought I knew was someone entirely different. The air crackled with tension as we faced each other, both knowing that our lives would never be the same again. The room felt electric with tension as Amanda and I faced off, her eyes darting between the cell phone in my hand and my expression of barely contained fury. I could see her struggling to maintain her composure, desperately trying to form words while her facade crumbled around her. The woman I had married was slipping through my fingers, and I was powerless to stop it. "Jake, please just listen to me," she pleaded, her voice a mix of desperation and defiance. "It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Mike is just a friend. I didn't think it would go this far." "Not supposed to happen," I echoed incredulously, my voice rising again. "You think that just because you didn't plan for it doesn't make it any less real. You've been texting him, planning weekends while you look me in the eyes and pretend everything is fine. I thought I knew you, Amanda." Tears welled in her eyes, and for a fleeting moment I thought I saw genuine remorse. But then that flicker vanished, and in its place was the same defensive demeanor I had grown increasingly frustrated with. "You don't understand. You've been so busy with work, I felt neglected, I was lonely. And cheating on me was your solution." I shot back, the anger spilling over. You hid behind your phone and this friendship when you could have just talked to me. If you were feeling lonely, we could have worked on it together. But this is betrayal." She opened her mouth to argue, but nothing came out. The silence hung thick in the air. It felt like an invisible barrier had formed between us. It was a painful reminder that the trust we had built was now shattered, replaced by this new, toxic reality. "I thought we had something real," I said, my voice wavering slightly. Maybe I was just deluding myself. I turned away from her, feeling the weight of the betrayal settling heavily on my chest. Each breath felt like a chore as the emotions fought within me. I was angry, devastated, and utterly heartbroken. "I'm so sorry, Jake," she finally whispered, taking a tentative step closer. "I messed up. I never meant to hurt you. It was a mistake, and I'll end things with him right now." I turned back to her, my eyes narrowing. "You think that fixes everything? It's too late for that. You've already crossed a line you can't uncross. This isn't just about ending things with Mike. It's about how you hurt me, how you shattered my trust." "I know," she whispered, her voice small. "I'll do anything to make it right. Please don't leave me. I love you." Her eyes pleaded with me, and for a brief moment I felt the old emotions surfacing, the love, the respect, the life we had built together. But it felt like a mirage in a desert of betrayal, shimmering just out of reach. I had to remind myself of the reality I now faced. "There's no easy way to put this, Amanda," I said slowly, trying to keep my emotions in check. "I can't just pretend this didn't happen. It's going to take more than words to fix this." She opened her mouth to protest, but I held up a hand to silence her. "The trust is gone. It'll take time, if it can even be rebuilt at all." I could see the devastation on her face as she realized the weight of my words. This wasn't just a bump in the road, it was a full-blown wreck. "What are you saying?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know. I need time to think," I admitted, my heart heavy. "I don't want to make any rash decisions right now, but I can't stay here if we're just going to pretend everything's fine." The silence that followed was deafening. We stood there, two people who had once shared a life but now felt like strangers. I could see her processing everything, the realization creeping in that our marriage was hanging by a thread. "Jake," she started, but I interrupted her again. "I need space," I said firmly. "I need to process this on my own." She nodded slowly, tears spilling down her cheeks. I couldn't bear to watch her cry. I felt like the villain in this story, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that she had set this train wreck in motion. Instead, I turned and walked out of the room, leaving her standing there, vulnerable and broken. I needed time to think about everything, about our marriage, about my feelings, about what the future might hold. I spent the following days in a haze, alternating between anger and sadness. I avoided Amanda as much as I could, choosing to spend my time at work and with friends who didn't know what was going on. This was a pivotal moment for me. I began to see things in a different light. I realized I needed to take control of my own life instead of letting this betrayal define me. I didn't want to be the husband who stayed with a wife who didn't appreciate him. I started thinking about what I truly wanted, whether that meant trying to rebuild our relationship or finding the strength to walk away. It was then that I began to map out my next steps. I knew that whatever I decided, it was crucial to put myself first for once. I had to weigh my options carefully and prepare for the consequences of whatever decision I made next. This was my chance to regain my power, and I was determined not to let it slip away. The days dragged into a week, and the silence in our home was deafening. Tension hung in the air like a thick fog, wrapping around every corner of our once cozy house. I avoided Amanda as much as I could, which wasn't hard since she seemed to be in a perpetual state of despair. Every time I saw her, I was reminded of the betrayal, the lies, and the broken trust. I felt like I was living in a nightmare that refused to end, and I was desperate to find a way out. As I continued to reflect on our relationship, I began to think about what I truly wanted. Was it possible to rebuild what had been shattered? Could I really forgive her and move on as if nothing had happened? The thought of doing so felt impossible, but at the same time, the idea of throwing away 5 years of marriage felt equally daunting. I decided to reach out to a close friend, Mark. We known each other since college, and he had always been a reliable sounding board. If anyone could help me sort through my emotions, it was him. We agreed to meet up at a local bar, a place that had been a staple of our friendship for years. As I entered, I spotted Mark sitting at a booth in the back nursing a beer. He looked up and smiled, gesturing for me to join him. I slid into the seat across from him, the familiar ambience bringing back memories of lighter times. "Hey man, you look rough," he said, concern etched on his face. "What's going on?" I took a deep breath, diving straight into the murky waters of my emotions. "It's Amanda. She's been cheating on me. I found out last week and I'm just lost." Mark's expression shifted from concern to disbelief. "What? Are you serious? I can't believe she would do that to you." I nodded, feeling the weight of the words hit me again. I never saw it coming. I mean, sure, things had felt off lately, but I thought it was just the stress of life. I didn't think she'd actually go and cheat on me. "Have you two talked about it?" he asked, taking a sip of his beer. "Yeah, we had a huge fight. She's claiming it was just a fling, that she never meant to hurt me. She wants to fix things, but I don't know if I can trust her again." Mark leaned back, considering his words carefully. "It's a tough situation, man. Trust is everything in a relationship. Can you see yourself ever getting back to where you were?" "I don't know," I admitted, running a hand through my hair. Part of me wants to believe that we can work things out, but another part is screaming at me to run for the hills. I just can't shake the feeling that she'll do it again. "Have you thought about what you want moving forward?" Mark asked, leaning in closer. "You need to prioritize yourself in this situation. You deserve to be happy too." Those words struck a chord within me. I had spent so much time focusing on Amanda and her needs that I had forgotten about my own happiness. "I guess I need to figure out what that looks like," I said, feeling a sense of clarity starting to form. "I know it's hard," Mark continued, "but sometimes a clean break is the best option. You'll never truly heal if you're constantly looking over your shoulder, waiting for the other shoe to drop." I took a moment to absorb his advice. It was a harsh reality, but he was right. I had to consider my own well-being and whether the relationship was worth saving. I need to think about what I want. Maybe it is time for a fresh start. After a few more drinks and discussions about life and love, I felt lighter. I still had a long way to go, but I could see a path forward. The conversation with Mark had given me something I hadn't felt in a while: hope. Back home, I found Amanda sitting on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, staring blankly at the TV. The sight of her felt foreign, almost as if I were looking at a stranger. I cleared my throat, unsure of how to approach her. "Hey," she looked up, her eyes swelling with tears. "Jake, I just got back from talking to Mark," I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. "He knows what's happening and we talked about things." She nodded, her voice trembling. "And what did he say?" "He thinks I need to put myself first. I need to think about what I truly want." I paused, taking a deep breath. "Amanda," I keep living like this. It's not just about you and what you want anymore. I need to evaluate if this marriage is what I want." "How can you say that?" she burst out, her voice rising in anguish. "I'm trying to make things right. I love you and I want to fix this." "I know you say that," I replied, my heart heavy. "But love isn't enough to erase the hurt. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, and right now, ours is crumbling." Her face fell, the realization of the gravity of our situation washing over her like a cold wave. "What are you saying, Jake? Are you saying you want to leave?" "I'm saying I need space to figure out what I want. We can't just snap our fingers and make everything okay." My voice softened, but the resolve was still there. "I need to think about if I can forgive you, or if it's best for both of us to go our separate ways." Tears streamed down her face as she nodded, her breathing shaky. "I understand. I wish I could take it all back. I wish you could too," I said, my heart aching for the person I once knew. "But wishing doesn't change what happened." The air between us felt charged, heavy with unspoken words and emotions. I could see her grappling with the reality of what was happening, and it was painful to witness. I wanted to comfort her, to hold her close like I used to, but I couldn't. I had to remain strong, even if it felt like tearing my heart out. "I'll be in the spare room for now," I finally said, the words feeling like a finality that hung in the air. "We need to figure out the next step separately." As I walked away, I felt the weight of the world on my shoulders. I didn't know what the future would hold, but I was ready to face it head on. I had taken the first step toward reclaiming my life, and for the first time since discovering the truth, I no longer felt completely powerless. There was a sense of determination brewing inside me, a realization that, regardless of what happened next, I would emerge stronger. I had to believe that. The following days were a blur of emotions: grief, anger, confusion, and even a strange sense of relief. I had moved into the spare room, a once cozy space that now felt like a prison. The walls echoed with memories of better times, but all I could see were reminders of the betrayal that had shattered my world. Amanda and I occupied the same house, but it felt like we were living in different realities. Every time we crossed paths, the silence was almost unbearable. We avoided eye contact, our conversations reduced to the bare minimum, mostly about household responsibilities and the logistics of our lives. I could sense Amanda's desperation to heal the rift, but I had made it clear that I needed time and space to figure out my feelings. One evening, I sat on the edge of the bed in the spare room, staring blankly at the wall. My phone buzzed, snapping me out of my stupor. It was a message from Mark. "Thinking about you, man. Let me know if you need to talk." I appreciated his concern, but I didn't want to burden him. I started to type a response but hesitated. Instead, I put my phone down and went for a walk, needing to clear my head. The neighborhood was quiet, the streets dimly lit under the glow of streetlights. I walked aimlessly, letting my mind wander. I thought about the life Amanda and I had built together, the dreams we had shared, and the plans we'd made. Everything felt like a cruel joke now. I found myself questioning everything. Was I wrong to think we could overcome this? Was the love we had shared worth salvaging, or had it all been a lie? When I returned home, I found Amanda sitting at the kitchen table, a cup of coffee in front of her. She looked up as I entered, her eyes filled with a mixture of hope and despair. "Jake, can we talk?" I hesitated but nodded, taking a seat across from her. The atmosphere was thick with tension, and I could see she had been waiting for this moment. "I know things have been hard between us," she began, her voice trembling. "But I want to try to make things right. I will do whatever it takes." I wanted to believe her, but the pain of her betrayal still stung. "Amanda, trust isn't something you can just regain overnight. You were ready to throw everything away for a fling. How do I know you won't do it again?" Her face fell and she looked down at her coffee. "I'm sorry. I know I messed up, but I'm willing to go to counseling, to do whatever it takes to show you I'm committed to us. I realize now how much I took for granted. I love you and I don't want to lose you." Again, her words stirred something deep within me. Part of me wanted to hold her and tell her everything would be okay, but the other part of me felt the anger bubbling up again. "You say that now, but what happens when things get tough? Will you just run to someone else again? I can't live with that doubt hanging over my head." "I would," she insisted, her voice rising slightly. "I've learned my lesson. I was foolish and selfish. I should have communicated how I felt instead of seeking validation elsewhere." Her sincerity was palpable, and I could see that she was genuinely remorseful. But could I trust her again? I wrestled with the idea of reconciliation, knowing that it would require a leap of faith that felt terrifying. "I don't want to rush into anything without seriously thinking it through," I finally said, my voice steady but pained. "I need to see real change, not promises. We need to rebuild the foundation of our relationship from the ground up, and that takes time." She nodded, understanding the gravity of what I was saying. "I'll prove it to you, Jake. Just give me a chance." I didn't know if I could give her that chance. I decided to seek advice from a professional. I reached out to a therapist who specialized in couples therapy, hoping that this would help us navigate the tumultuous waters we were in. I wanted to approach this rationally, not just out of emotions that were still raw. The next few weeks were a journey of painful honesty. We attended therapy sessions together, which opened the floodgates of unspoken feelings and hurt. During each session, we peeled back the layers of our relationship, addressing the core issues that had led to Amanda's infidelity. I learned from her that she felt overwhelmed by my work schedule, that she had been yearning for more connection. It didn't justify her actions, but it shed light on the distance that had grown between us. I shared my feelings of neglect, my frustration at being kept in the dark, and my fear of losing her completely. With each session, I began to feel more empowered, like I was taking control of my own healing process. It was still painful, and the road ahead was uncertain, but I could see glimmers of hope amidst the darkness. Amanda was making genuine efforts to change. She started therapy on her own, working through her issues and learning to communicate better. As we continued to navigate the rocky terrain of our relationship, I saw the potential for growth. Each small victory felt like a step forward, but I knew we still had a long way to go. While the road to reconciliation was fraught with challenges, I was starting to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for us to rebuild something even stronger than before. But just as I began to feel a sense of cautious optimism, a sudden turn of events threatened to derail everything we had worked so hard for. One evening, as I returned home from therapy, I found Amanda sitting on the couch, her face pale and her hands trembling. I could tell something was very wrong. "Jake," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "I need to tell you something." The uneasy feeling in my gut returned. I braced myself for what was to come, knowing that whatever she was about to say could change everything we had fought for. I felt my heart race as I took a seat across from Amanda, bracing myself for whatever revelation she was about to drop. The atmosphere in the room was thick with tension, and I could see the fear in her eyes. "What is it?" I asked, forcing the words out, my voice steadier than I felt. She took a deep breath, her hands trembling as they clutched the edges of the couch. "Jake, I didn't want to tell you this, but I feel like I have to be honest no matter how hard it is." A knot formed in my stomach. "Just tell me." "I've been seeing Mike again," she admitted, tears spilling down her cheeks. Each word was like a punch to my gut. "We ran into each other last week and he told me he missed me. I didn't want to, but I didn't know how to say no. I thought it was just a one-time thing, but it happened again." The world around me felt like it was collapsing. I could hear the blood rushing in my ears, drowning out all other sounds. "You were supposed to be working on us. You said you wanted to fix things." I exploded, the anger bubbling back up like a volcano ready to erupt. "I know," she cried, her voice cracking. "I messed up. I thought it was over between us and then I got lost. But it was a mistake, Jake. I realized I want to make this work with you. Please just give me another chance." "Another chance?" I scoffed, my heart racing with betrayal. "You think I can just overlook this? I gave you my trust and you threw it away again. You don't get to pick and choose when you want to be honest with me. This isn't just a mistake, this is a pattern." "I'm so sorry," she pleaded, her voice a mixture of desperation and regret. "I never wanted to hurt you like this. I was confused and I thought what?" I interrupted, the words pouring out like venom. "Thought that you could juggle two relationships at once. You're either fully committed to me or you're not. I can't keep doing this back and forth dance with you. I'll end things with him for good, I swear," she begged. "I promise I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. Just please don't give up on me." It was as if a tidal wave of emotions hit me all at once. I felt the familiar sting of tears welling in my eyes, but I fought them back. "I can't believe this is happening. I thought we were moving forward and now this. You've made your choice clear." "I'm so sorry, Jake. I never wanted to hurt you," she said, her voice breaking. "I'll go to counseling. I'll work on myself. I'll do everything." But I couldn't shake the anguish coursing through me. I looked at her, really looked at her, and I felt the weight of her apologies pushing down on me. "I don't know if I can do this anymore, Amanda. You've broken my trust too many times. I need to protect myself now." The realization of what I was saying hit me hard. I had spent so much time trying to salvage our relationship, but it was clear that Amanda wasn't ready to commit to the changes necessary to rebuild what we had lost. I stood up, feeling the heaviness of the moment settle in my chest. "I think it's time for me to go," I said finally, my voice steady but heartbroken. "I need to figure out what's best for me, and this isn't it." Her face fell and I could see the panic wash over her. "Please, Jake, don't leave. I love you." "I love you too," I admitted, my heart aching. "But love isn't enough anymore. I can't keep doing this to myself. I deserve someone who's all in, not someone who wavers." As I walked toward the door, I could feel her gaze burning into my back. I paused, my hand on the doorknob, and turned to face her one last time. "I hope you can find what you're looking for, Amanda, but I have to find my own path now." I stepped outside, the cool air hitting my face like a refreshing wave. Each step I took felt heavier than the last, but there was an undeniable sense of relief washing over me. I had made my decision, and while it hurt more than I could have ever anticipated, I knew it was the right choice for me. In the weeks that followed, I found solace in my friends, in therapy, and in rediscovering who I was outside of the confines of my marriage. I learned that healing takes time, and it's okay to feel angry, sad, and even lost. I focused on rebuilding my life one step at a time. Looking back, I knew I had made the right choice. The pain of Amanda's betrayal was still fresh, but I had taken back control of my life. I had learned valuable lessons about self-worth, trust, and the importance of open communication in a relationship. As I moved forward, I found hope in the idea that love is possible again, but this time, it would be with someone who truly valued and respected the bond we'd create. I was ready to embrace a future that was all my own, one where I would no longer settle for less than I deserved.